All right, we're going to look at the Michigan State-Michigan fracas that happened at the end of the game on Saturday. I think everybody's seen this video by now. And a big question on everybody's mind is, could these guys be charged criminally with the fight that occurred in the tunnel at the Michigan State game on Saturday? Patrick, did you find out what could happen here in Michigan?
Yeah, so let's watch the video and just take a quick look at what happened, and then we can talk about what people can be charged with. Okay, so we're going to watch the video here.
And just for context, what's happening is the players have just finished the game and they're walking away from the field through this tunnel, and both teams are kind of, it appears that I guess they put them in one at a time, but there's obviously some Michigan players who are mixed in with the Michigan State players. Michigan State's in white.
Yep. And so right here, you see number 4. This is where the action ensues here.
Wow. Okay, pause it right there. I mean, what you obviously saw there, if you rewind it a little bit, is that there's a Michigan player kind of mixed in here. I've heard things that the Michigan State players were kind of waiting for this player to come down the tunnel. I don't really know, the specifics. They're still investigating a lot of this, obviously. But I think the thing that this video shocked everybody with this week when it came out is that you can kind of clearly see that there's a Michigan State player here who's got his helmet off and is swinging at the Michigan player. And you can see this over and over in the video, that clearly somebody is swinging a helmet at somebody else. I can't tell if he hit him or not. Do we know if the helmet hit the guy, Patrick?
Yeah, you can see it hit him. We'll play it again.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly swinging a helmet, and
the Michigan player did not have a helmet on.
Right. All right. So the big question on everybody's mind now, I think Michigan people are wanting Michigan State players to be charged with a crime here. Is this a crime, Patrick?
I think it is. So under Michigan law, there is a statute for assault and battery. I think it's clear that this would fall under assault and battery charges. The penalty for assault and battery under Michigan laws is not as severe as under Georgia law, but it's the person would be guilty of a misdemeanor and punished not more than 93 days or a fine of not more than 500. So I think that it's clear that some of these guys that face charges could face an assault and battery. The individual swinging the helmet could be charged with a felony, because if a person assaults another person with a dangerous weapon, which I think it's arguable a football helmet is a dangerous weapon, and that person does not intend to commit murder, but does intend to inflict great bodily harm, less than murder, is guilty of a felony, and that person could be sentenced to imprisonment of not more than 4 years or a fine of not more than $2,000 or both. I think that clearly the football player that was swinging the helmet clearly would be eligible for that type of charge.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. So in general, in most places, an assault is traditionally putting a person in fear of bodily harm that's going to be imminent. It's a fear of imminent bodily harm. So you don't actually have to strike the person. If you put your arm up like you're going to hit the person, someone has already committed an assault. And if you actually strike the person and make contact with them, that's battery. So that's why you have assault and battery. So in Michigan, it appears they do have statutes for this. And what I saw on here is that basically a person could be committed with assault and battery. I think if you put this person in fear that you're going to potentially harm them, anyone who was around this player in Michigan, it appears that they did, confront him and started pushing him. And then we have the one player who was striking him with a helmet. That's the much bigger deal here. I think that everyone, if they are criminally charged, is probably looking at misdemeanor charges. But the big question here is the person who is swinging the helmet guilty of a potential felony? Could he be charged under Michigan law with a felony? And it appears he could. And the key to me is that it says to be a felony, you have to be using a weapon, right? But it doesn't define what qualifies as a weapon. And I know under most places, anything that you hold in your hand to strike someone with is considered a weapon. So if I pick up a bottle, that's considered a weapon. If I have, anything in my fists, even that can be considered a weapon.
The Michigan statute does outline examples. So a gun, a revolver, a pistol, a knife, an iron bar, club, brass knuckles, or other dangerous weapon.
Right. And I think that's really going to be the question for the prosecutors here is, do they think that swinging a helmet is going to meet the definition of a weapon? And if it is, this guy could be looking at a very serious charge. The other big question that's on people's minds is this happened kind of in the context of a football game. Are we going to see criminal charges for players fighting at football games, which happens about every Saturday during college football season? What do you think about that?
I think that this is a little bit different because this is after the game and it's off the field. And, you have hockey players that swing their hockey sticks at people that get charged with felonies or get charged with crimes for doing that. I think that it comes down to was this part of the game of play? I would say it's not. I would hope that that they do prosecute these guys because there's no defense to ganging up on another football player and swinging a helmet at somebody's unprotected head.
The fact that it happened in the tunnel, I think, makes it much more likely that something is going to be looked at as a potential criminal case, because had this been fighting on the field, if a player takes his helmet off and slings it at another person on the field, I think that's still potentially criminal. I know it potentially would be. I don't recall any examples of that happening. The players are encouraged to keep their helmets on. They're penalized for having their helmets off. I know that they've put in rules for making sure the players keep their helmets on at all times. But I think even if you're using your helmet for an unintended use like that, which is holding it in your hand and swinging it at people, those helmets are very heavy. I mean, these things could really inflict a lot of damage. And, luckily nobody was more seriously injured. The fact that this happened after the game and in the tunnel, that to me is what, makes it a little more serious as far as potential criminal activity. Had it happened in the parking lot or something like that, there would be no question, right? But the way that this would played out with it being after the game, and that the way they swarmed around this other player of the other team, I think that whether there's going to be criminal charges or not, I think this definitely meets the definition of an assault and battery case in Michigan, and potentially a felonious one.
Well, and it brings up a few years ago, Myles Garrett ripped off the quarterback for the Steelers, Mason Rudolph's helmet, and swung it at him. And he was suspended for the final 6 games of the NFL season. I don't think he faced any criminal charges.
Yeah, and I think that's, I'm sure people in Michigan are probably looking at it from white and green eyes and blue and maize and blue eyes. But, you hate to see this kind of thing, and whether criminal charges are coming or not, these players have been suspended, but I hope that they send a message to guys that you just can't have this kind of behavior. They're very lucky that somebody wasn't hurt a lot worse here. All right. Interesting look at that. Thanks a lot, Patrick. Have a great day.
All right.